Hello there and a very good morning to you. You're watching Sewing Street Live and I'm Debbie Shaw. I'm saying live, but we are being very safe while we're here in the studios. There's only two of us on a skeleton staff, if you like, and we are over 2 meters apart and staying that way, and everything is so sanitized. I don't think things have ever been so clean. So we're staying safe. I hope you are at home as well. Now, we've got lots to show you in the next 2 hours. I'd love you to be part of the show as well. So if you'd like to pop over to Facebook and go to the Sewing Street page. I've actually got the visitor post page open right here, so hopefully your messages will come through straight away. So if you have any questions, if you have any requests, if you'd like anything particular demonstrating, then do come and let us know. So we are live here until 11 o'clock this morning, and long may it continue. Hopefully this is going to carry on for the foreseeable future. But let's make the most of it while we're still here. What are you up to? What are you sewing? What would you like to sew? How are you passing your time? Is sewing a new hobby for you? I know when I was here a couple of days ago, we had so many new customers coming along. Are you the kind of person that's just come across the channel thinking, do you know, I've got time on my hands now, I'm going to start a new hobby, I'm going to start sewing? Or maybe you're a sewer already, but you'd like to try something a little bit different. Are you the dressmaker that wants to start quilting? Are you the quilter that wants to make a pair of curtains? Is it just crafting? So making bags and household items? Are you teaching the kids how to sew? My eldest granddaughter, who I don't see often enough, I'm certainly not going to be seeing her for the next few weeks, is 4.5 years old, and she said to her dad the other day, "Daddy, I'd like to learn to sew." And he said, "I haven't even got a needle." So I'm going to send them a package. Let's get the kids sewing. Okay, so as often as we can, the first product we're going to show you in the morning, we're going to call we're going to call it an early bird, early. And this is a special offer that we bring you at a reduced price as long as we have the stock. So this is Best Press. If you haven't seen Best Press before, this is an incredible product that is going to replace your starching. So I used to use starch a lot. If I have a flimsy fabric that I wanted to make a little bit more sturdy as I'm sewing, if I really want to hold a crease in something, if I want to remove creases from something that I'm ironing, and if I'm sewing with a jersey fabric that tends to roll, starch would be my go-to product. But the thing with starch is it can leave white residue all over the place, and it can be, you know, if you spray uneven and then you iron over it, your fabric feels thick in one place and thin in another. So Best Press is your starch replacement. It hasn't got the white bits in it. It's not going to leave a residue. It's fragrant, so you have a lovely aroma of lavender with this one. It goes a long way. Environmentally, in its favour, it isn't an aerosol spray, unlike the starches that I used to use, and it works. So it'll remove the creases from your garments, whatever you're ironing, really easily. It does work fantastically on jerseys that roll up, and it doesn't leave residue behind, and I can show you how it works as well. So I'm going to use the mini iron. We have them in stock. I'll give the details of that later on. So let's give this a good old scrunch up. Oh dear. Do you know sometimes when you buy frock quarters or pre-cut fabrics that have been folded, some fabrics can be a nightmare to get those creases out of. You still see the fold marks whether you've spray starched or whatever you've done. So let's just turn this on and onto the wide spray and give that a spray and a... It's subtle. If you don't like the smell of lavender, this is... It doesn't smell... You know dried lavender that you put in mothballs? Doesn't smell like that. This smells like fresh lavender. Lavender, if you walk past a lavender bush in the garden and you brush up against it, or we've got quite a large area of lavender in the garden, and the dog runs through it, and she smells wonderful. But it's that kind of smell. And then I'm just going to iron it out. So it dries really quickly. Should have used a coloured fabric really, shouldn't I? Because you can't tell whether it's leaving a white residue on white fabric. These spots are part of the fabric. This is not left behind from your Best Press. But it's given me a crispness without the chalkiness. The creases have disappeared really, really quickly. I have got a bit of stretch fabric actually, by coincidence, because this can be a bit of a nightmare because it rolls up. And it can be difficult to sew. Look, it's just curling up on both sides. So let's give it a spray. It does wash out as well, but certainly while you're sewing, oh look at this, your jersey fabrics, this is going to really help. It won't stop it stretching, so you'll still need to use your stretch needles and all that kind of thing. We'll have a chat about stretch fabrics later on in the second hour maybe. But normally with my starch, I'm starching over and over and over again until the fabric is really stiff. That's curling because I've just wet it again. But I reckon 2 passovers with this one, and that's going to be enough. Really works, doesn't it? That was an impromptu little demonstration. I just thought, oh no, I've got some stretch fabric down there, because I was going to show you a stretch stitch on my 720 later. Oh, and while you're there as well, look at the steam that's coming out of this little monster. I love these mini irons. I use them all the time. I say them because I do have a few. I think I've got 3. I keep one in my travel bag. I've got one in my studio. And then I've got another one that the dog chewed all the front of it off, so I don't like to show that on air, but it does still work. But I think that I love about them, it's a proper little iron. It's not just a small area that gets really hot to press seams open. Look at the steam that's coming from this. This is a lovely travel iron, so if you're staying away anytime in the future, then use this as your travel iron. It comes with a handy little bag as well. You don't have to have the steam on there. It is temperature controllable. As I wind this right down, the light goes off, then it's switched off. So I normally leave mine plugged in at the side of my sewing machine. The water goes in here and you've got your maximum measurements on there as well. And you can even give it the steam on, steam off function just by pressing the button on the top. It's a fabulous little iron, and it's a nice size just to keep at the side of your work. So as you're sewing, wherever your sewing machine is, I don't have enough room in my sewing area to have an ironing board and a big iron next to me, and they can tend to take a long time to heat up and use a lot of energy. This heats up almost immediately. It's easy to store, and with a little mat like this that I'm ironing on, it doesn't actually take up very much room as well. So if you go in for your best press, why not put the little iron on your order as well? So best press is your early bird, so as long as we have the stock. And remember, you have got a reduced price for that as well. And it lasts a long time. There's lots of you ordering this already. Well done you. So you're only looking at £8.99 for this one. Just to mention as well, if you are one of our new viewers, hello, welcome along. We have 1 postage for the whole day. So if you order your best press now, you'll pay £3.95 for your postage. But if you come back later on, we're only live for the first couple of hours. The next 3 hours we're going to be showing you recorded shows or pre-recorded shows, and then the rest of the day it'll be jewellery, because we're sharing our channel with Jewellery Maker at the moment. But even if you come back to the website later on during the day and you think, actually I need something, I wanted some fabric, oh I remember what was on the other day, oh there was some threads, there was a really good thread off, I want to put those on my order, we won't charge you any more postage. And that will go all the way through until midnight tonight. So all of your orders are processed at midnight, and we add them up throughout the day just to make sure that you're not going to pay too much for your postage. So that's well worth thinking about. And I think that's a fantastic offer. I love that Sewing Street can do that. So that's your early bird. Open up that basket, make sure you get hold of this. You can go for more than one if you want to as well. We don't restrict these offers to 1 per person. So there's no particular shelf life. So just stock up as much as you can. And actually, early bird should last for a day, or while we have the stock. But if you have a look on the website, you might see another couple of early birds that are still lingering around. So there's a Gutermann thread bundle, which is amazing. And then we've got the Alpha self-healing cutting mat that was on yesterday as well. So have a look on sewingstreet.com. Oh, by the way, when you go to sewingstreet.com, you will put that into your search engine and it will come up Sewing Street, but you may see Jewellery Maker on the top, because we've kind of pinched a little bit of their website while we're building our own. Because we are quite a new channel. We've only been around for around about a month, so we're still building the website. But you can still order on the website. You still got the same great offers on the website, and it's still sewingstreet.com, so do take a look there. You can order on the phone lines if you like. We've got a British-based call centre. It's 0800 001 4433. Oh, now then, we've got messages already. Oh, I'm so glad I brought my phone in. We have an archaic tablet that I just couldn't pick up any messages the other day. Oh, hi, Jen. Morning, Debbie. Bought the iron on your recommendation. I also got some in the shop, although not open currently. Jen's got a crafting shop, Jenny's Craft Hub, in Wem. And it's a shame because she only opened it a few weeks ago and had to close it again now. What sizes are the ironing stroke cutting mat in, please? Is that this one? This one's A3. We have an A4 one available as well. So cutting mat one side, ironing mat the other, and then it folds open. It's got sloths all over it. Have a look on the website for those. Linda's got the iron and can highly recommend it. I love it. I'll be honest with you, when I first saw that, because I've had them for years now, and when I first saw it, I thought, oh, 40 quid for an iron, I could get a big one for that. I use this so much more than I do the big iron. It's worth every single penny. But the thing I love about it, as I said previously, is a proper iron. It's a proper, powerful steam iron. It's just miniature in size, which makes it perfect for crafting, doesn't it? So, again, have a look on Facebook, send me a message, let me know what you're up to. Hopefully you're keeping safe. As Julia sent a message as well. Judith, I can't see Judith. Oh, she sent it somewhere else, okay. And Judith says, morning from sunny Devon, morning to you too. Was that it? Lovely. Oh, that's nice. Isn't it? I don't know, I know it's very strange times at the moment, but I'm so pleased that at least it's sunny. Does that make sense? At least when you look out of the window and the daffodils are coming up, we've got primulas coming up in the garden, and everything's kind of blue skies, and we even sat outside for a couple of hours yesterday. My youngest granddaughter's staying with us for a few weeks, and she was playing on the slide and on the trampoline, and it was like summer. And I think it makes a difference. I think when we're stuck in home and it's grey outside, or even if you can go out into the garden and it's throwing it down with rain so you can't go out in the garden, doesn't it make a difference when it's sunny? I think so. People seem a little bit happier when you say. So Best Press, have you used it before? What do you think? I was given some to try by the manufacturers about a year ago, and that's coloured water, that's not going to do anything. And do you know, I was seriously so impressed with it. I haven't used starch since. You can buy obviously starch, and there's also products that make ironing easy in an aerosol can again, and I use this instead of both of those. So the Make Ironing Easy product was literally just to take creases away from things, saves you wetting things. I think these tend to dry quicker than water, but this is the best of both products, and it's fragranced as well. So, in fact, if you have a look on the back, it'll tell you what is recommended. It says 2 products in one, starching and sizing. Now, the sizing is going to put a nice coating on your fabric, which makes it crisper when you're sewing. It does wash out afterwards if you don't like that kind of feeling. Used on all fabrics, no clogging, no waste, no flaking, even on dark fabrics. No residue or shine, no spotting. It makes irons easier, relaxes stubborn wrinkles. Ooh. Oh, well, I'm going to do me crow's feet in a minute. No, don't. Safer storage. Oh, if you could, you would, wouldn't you? Safer storage. It doesn't attract bugs. Oh, I'm so going to use the Clover Mini Iron. Doesn't attract bugs. The Elna 720. Doesn't attract bugs. It's acid-free and it guards fabric against soiling as well. That's another one, soiling. So it puts a protective coat, so it's going to make your fabric easier to clean as well, basically. And it's only £8.99. So again, multi-order if you can, while we have the stock, and that all-day postage of £3.95. Remember, which I think is incredible value. Are we up this morning? What are you doing? Oh, Linda sent a message. And her garden's getting more attention than the sewing room at the moment. We're lucky to have a garden, aren't we? I know there's a lot of people that can look out over this wonderful weather, but aren't even allowed to go out in there. Oh, we've got lots of messages coming through. Oh, Tina sent a message as well. And she said, morning. Finally get to see Sewing Street live on TV. Now that she's at home during the day. So you're working from home. Oh, and she loves Best Press as well. And we've got Linda here as well. She's been self-isolating for just over a week now. Oh, no, I've said Linda, haven't I? Sorry. Yep. And then we have Prev, who's in Guernsey. Hello. And she says she's been sewing like mad. You're not the only one. Mandy sent a message as well. And she said, morning all, morning Mandy. She's sorted out a sewing area. Well done. As she sews in the bedroom. Loves the 720. We've got a whole hour of this coming up at 10 o'clock this morning. And she said, stay safe, everybody. Thank you. Stay safe yourself as well. Oh, it's lovely to hear from you all. But, you know, we're a shopping channel. We better bring you some stuff to buy, hadn't we? Do you know, there's more important things, aren't there, at the moment. Right, we have fabrics for you. Oh, and these are brand new. Just move those out the way before the iron goes on the floor. Doesn't attract bugs. I'm going to say that for everything. I think that's really funny. These are 100% cotton panels, UK designed, UK printed, and brand new and exclusive to Sewing Street. Now, we have, these were supposed to be fat quarters, but somebody got a little bit carried away. A fat quarter on average will be 22 inches by 18 inches. These are 27.5 by 19.5 inches. They're huge. So let's take a look at the design. I like the way they're kind of seaside, but grown-up seaside, if you get what I mean. So when I think about seaside fabrics, I think about deck chairs and stripes and bold colours and yellow for sand and blue for seas. And this is a really sophisticated colour palette. The thing I like about it as well, like on the large shells, are they conch? Yeah, I think so. The print in the background actually looks like linen. It's not. That's the actual print. So it's printed to look like linen. Isn't that clever? I love those colours as well. Sign of a good printer fabric as well is very, very fine lines like this. That can be really difficult to do on a lot of fabrics. So yeah, quality print with this one as well. So this is £14.99. Plenty enough in each one of those panels, I think, to make large cushion covers or maybe a couple of smaller ones. I had the fabric at home yesterday. My daughter's working with me at home, so she's gone sewing crazy. And when she saw it, she says, oh, I want to make something for the bathroom. I don't know what, but I think it's bathroomy. Bathroomy. You could make maybe drawstring bags to hang on the back of the door to keep your toiletries in. Maybe make different little drawstring bags for different members of your family to keep your personals separate. You could easily make something like a laundry bag out of this, maybe storage boxes, little storage boxes to go in the window, or boxes to go in the window that you can put some fake plants in there to decorate it. Maybe with a collection of little shells around it as well would make a lovely display, I think. I was thinking more kitchen. So maybe oven mitts or an apron. I've started making an apron. I shall hopefully finish that shortly. So what do you think? When you look at the fabric, what springs to mind when you see seashells like this? What are you going to make? So RNUU05 if you'd like to order for £14.99. Hold fire for just a second though, because we have matching things. So I think it's quite nice to do that. Brand new and exclusive, by the way. Hi, Shelley. Shelley's messaged in. And she says, morning, Debbie. I've used Best Press since I started sewing a couple of years ago, and she absolutely loves it. I wouldn't go back to starch. And she's just ordered, so you're stocking up, Shelley. Well done. Oh, and she's got the mini iron as well. She wouldn't be without that. Love that little iron. Lynn's messaged in as well. And she says, morning and the crew. We're only a crew of one. It's Joe today. It's me and Joe. So Joe is cameras, directors and producers. I'm in charge of presenting and tea. Which I think that's the most important job, isn't it? Making the tea in the morning. Yep, hello and welcome along. Nice to have your company this morning. Nice to know that you're still there and you're still safe. I just need to go back again, don't I? To the best press. Here we go. Half of the stock has now sold out. That's good because we've still got half of the stock left. But to sell out of half of it in 20 minutes, that's rather a lot of stock has gone. So if you want it, you've only got that one postage to pay all day, remember. So order now and then you can carry on shopping later on without paying any extra postage for that one. Whoa. I did that the other day, didn't I? I was playing with it down here, doing that jumping over it kind of thing. Oh, I'm so looking forward to having a bigger studio where we can spread out a little. Fabric squares. So I did say we have other things to match, and these are perfect. So these are 5-inch squares, so the equivalent of what Moda call their charm pack. So you can see we've got lots more designs going on here as well. So some of them will be the same as the fabric panels, then you've got some extra ones as well. I like the crabs. I'd like to have seen a whole fabric panel in the crabs. And being a Cancerian myself, they're kind of, yeah, I love the colours there. This is my favourite one with a pale blue. But yeah, so I've got ideas for you for this as well. This was actually made with said fabric squares. I'm not claiming this is perfect patchwork. I was having a play to see what happened. So I sewed together from the wrong side, because you can just about see the pattern through there. So I just folded along where the white mark is in between each square and sewed across it, just with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So then when you open it up, it looks like the squares have been sewn together. What's quite nice with this fabric as well is that all of the squares are different next to each other. So if you do that, you're not going to get 2 prints the same. And then when I'd sewn those that way, I then sewed them that way, and then I chopped them all in half diagonally, and then turn them all around and sew them back together again. But it looks like they're kind of overlapping. So I like that kind of look. The borders were made from the fabric strips that I shall show you in just a second. And the back of it was made from the fabric strips, but just as a piece of fabric, which works as well. I'll show you that in a sec. That's getting ahead of myself somewhat. Let's pop you back up there. That was really easy. But it's nice to have a play with fabrics like this. You don't have to be an expert quilter or a patchworker to be able to create that kind of look. And you know, even using this as a sheet of fabric without seaming anything and without cutting up the squares, I think it makes a really nice piece of fabric. Almost looks like there's piping in between it, doesn't it? You have 40 of these in total. Oh, Hannah McCabe's watching. Hi, Hannah. Loves me cushion. Thank you very much. You can't have it. Can't have it. Taking that one home with me. I love the colours though. I think that's the main thing with this fabric. I think it's a really lovely, elegant, sophisticated choice of fabric that's not bright and fun. I think it's really classy. I could have shown you the right way round, really. That's all upside down. So we have... Was the other one the wrong way around as well? So you've got 40 of those panels all together, or 40 squares all. I'm going to turn the right way around now, just get it right. There you go. See, now it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Perfect for English paper piecing as well. Maybe not with the larger prints, but these smaller ones with the little clamshells, and even the crabs maybe on the hexagon would look really nice, so you can pick those out. Button covering would be a nice idea with the little crabs on there, I think. And again, all British made, all British printed, all British designed, and exclusive to us here at Saint Street. So you can't shop around, you won't find it anywhere else. Now then, we've got something new, or a new idea for you. And these are your hexi strips. Now there's a reason for this, why they're spread out in this manner. Oh, I should have counted those, shouldn't we? They're 2 inch, so the 2 inches is actually, as I turn it the right way around, across the top of the hexie. So if you're going to do, so 2 inches measures across here. So if you're English paper piecing, you're going to need a 1 3/4 inch paper hexagon to go on the inside. Of course, you can do smaller than that as well, if you wish. The reason that they're cut like this, or put like this, rather than all joined together, was actually my idea. I'm taking all the credit for it, because they're easier to cut out. So if you had, say, another hexagon, let's do this bit. So if you've got one there, and then the next hexagon was here, you would have to cut there and cut there and cut here and cut all individually. Whereas here, because these are all in a straight line, you can take your rotary ruler, cutter and mat and just go straight the way across, and then you can just go down the diagonals like that. So I thought this was going to be a lot more accurate. It's difficult to cut into a Y shape with a rotary cutter anyway, without going a little bit further over. And I was just thinking of you sitting at home with a pair of scissors, cutting out every single one of these accurately, when it's so much easier with a rotary cutter. So there you go. There are 60 of these in total, all coordinating. So you have the plain, in that, it's like an Air Force blue. And then there's the more subtle here, like skeleton of fish, and then we have the clamshells. And as we move across, we've got a couple of lighthouses. We have the orangey colour. What colour is that? A mandarin, I'm going to call it. The larger shells, which look quite floral, I think. And then over here, we've got anchors, and you've got the crabs. These look quite nostalgic to me. I don't know why. So altogether, you can create a really lovely, I'm thinking cushion covers again with this one, of quite a size as well. So I would cut them all out, and before I start putting the papers behind them, if that's what you're doing with them, I'd arrange them into a pattern that you're happy with. You probably find you have a lot left over from whatever kind of design you're making, and then start to sew them together. And English paper piecing. Oh, I find it so relaxing. If you haven't tried yet, have a look up on YouTube or something for instructions on how to do English paper piecing. You'll find it, I think, because I do, so relaxing and calming. And it's one of those mindful crafts that kind of takes you away from things. You know, when you get so engrossed in something, making those tiny little stitches, taking your time over it. There's no rush. We've got a lot of time on our hands at the moment, the majority of us. It's quiet. You don't need a sewing machine. You're not going to interfere with somebody else that may be doing their homework or reading or watching TV, because it is so quiet. Something that you can take with you if you can go outside, if you have a garden, and you know, you're not lumbering a machine around with you. So I think, if this is a new hobby maybe that you're looking for, even if you're a sewer already, go for the panel. You need to get some hexagon shapes, but you can buy those online. We don't have any at the moment. We will do in the future, but we haven't got any at the moment. So have a look for 1 3/4 inch hexagon shapes, or you can cut out your own. You could maybe download a pattern from the internet and cut them out and sit and relax and enjoy your time. So, I've mixed them up now, haven't I? Let's move on to another fabric panel. So this is RNW05, if you'd like to order. And these are a different 4 panels to the previous one that you saw. So the blue background. You've got the shells. This reminds me of I don't know, some kind of botanical book. You know, those really intricate sketches that you get in those kind of books. And that's like the skeleton. It's a shell in half, isn't it? So it's like a helter-skelter. And then you've got the large print again, and the smaller one with the shells. Now these are the ones that have been used on the apron. But I say have been used, because my daughter started making this yesterday. I'll try and finish it off at some point throughout these 2 hours. But this is just using those 2 fabrics without cutting them in half. But it looks like piping down the centre, doesn't it? So again, look at this as one huge piece of fabric before you start cutting it up. So it's not necessarily just 4 fat quarters. You've got one really big piece of fabric. So this could be, it could be a little girl's dress, it could be a summer outfit, it could be a romper suit for a little boy. It's not particularly frilly and fussy and feminine. There you go. But I think the white line around the waistline really makes it. It almost looks deliberate, doesn't it? Okay, so that's one idea for you. Gosh, we've got so much to show you and so little time. We wish we were here for more than 4 hours. Right, need to give you a quick reminder before we move on of our early bird best press. We are extremely limited stock now. So we've only got... we have one left. That's going to be a race to get to the phone, isn't it? The phone's probably going to be the easiest and the quickest way for you to order yours. So we could probably just stay here for another few seconds and that's going to go as well. That's going to be my first sellout in the whole month since we got there. It's just £8.99. Now, now then, our Frisker scissors, what are you like? Our Frisker scissors that have a guard, which I've taken off and put somewhere. We have one left. Now, these have been on a special offer, I think, since we first came here. So we are now obviously coming to the end of the offer. Those are only £9.99. They're really lovely shears. They're right-handed. They're comfortable. They're easy to use. They are sharp right up to the point, which sounds really silly, but that's really important for a pair of scissors because sometimes they're not. You don't quite get the tiny little snips at the point. They do come with a guard, and make sure you put that on to protect not just you, but to protect your scissors as well. So always make sure that you put those back on again. Because there's nothing worse for a pair of scissors than being dropped on the floor and landing on the point. You can really ruin them. So just £9.99. But we've only got one left. How many 720s have we got? They don't attract bugs. Right, let's move on. We have fabric strips. 16 fabric strips, and they're all different. So this one is TNUU03. So a huge sheet, that's how big it is, look. Oh, sorry about that. Did I make a noise with my microphone? So let's have a look at these. Now these are the ones that I used for the back of my cushion cover. I didn't cut them into strips and sew them back together again. I just cut them out as it is. But I think this is such a clever idea because if you do want to cut the 2.5-inch strips, if you're a patch worker, then you just cut them out and use them as you would do. We've got lots of ideas for you. Have a look on the website. The books we have, we've got jelly roll quilts, we've got the joy of jelly rolls, making pre-cut quilts and modern quilting, which will all use jelly rolls. But you don't have to use them just as a jelly roll. I've used them as a border around here. You could use them for sashing, you could use them for borders on quilts, and you could use them to make binding with as well. Not binding that goes around a curve because these are obviously cut on the weave, so they're not going to curve. But if you're doing a straight binding, then that's not going to be a problem for you at all. Lovely colours, aren't they? I wish you could see behind the scenes here. Poor Joe. It's myself and Joe. In fact, there's a cleaner and somebody in an office and a random person upstairs working away. That's over on Jewellery Maker on our sister channel. So the building is empty. The building is sparkly and shiny and clean. We're all keeping our distance away from each other. We're all wearing gloves. But we are down to a skeleton crew. So to bring you this broadcast live this morning, there's 2 of us in the studio. There is Hayley, head of TV, watching and working from home, no doubt. Neil's probably watching and working from home as well. We do have Paul, our head buyer. He'll be working from home. So the company is still going, but it's going from all different areas of the country at the moment. Hayley, who's in charge of, another Hayley, who's in charge of marketing and looks after our Facebook page and Instagram and things like that, she's working from home. So we are all working. So we are all working as a team, but there's only 2 of us here bringing you this show today. So Early bird sold out, by the way, so your best press has gone. We do have some other early birds for you, though. Sometimes these offers that should only last for a day, somebody forgets to take them off the website, forgets to put the price up after one day. Not naming names. Oh, we've seen everything now, haven't we? So that's everything that we have available for you in the Harbour range. And again, these are all brand new and exclusive to SS. The SS. Right. We have more for you. So, this selection is called In the Kitchen. And again, it's really nice. It's really nice. It's really lovely quality and colours again, I think. Let's take a look at this and the size that you're getting. So these are the first set of fabric panels. So this is CIUU85 if you would like to order. So it's a huge piece of fabric. And definitely things for your kitchen. So, what about a tea cosy? What about oven gloves, oven mitts? How about using smaller pieces of fabric, one of those, what do they call them? Where you have a tea towel with a piece of fabric on the top and some Velcro and it wraps around the handle on the front of your oven. So that would only use small pieces of fabric. What about a cover for your Kenwood chef? That'd be nice. You could make like a patchwork cafe curtain, one of those little curtains that goes halfway across your window, and that would brighten up your outlook. Lovely fresh springtime type of colours, I think, for this one. So we've got place settings here, and then geometric design. This is a nice one. It's tiny little teapots. Teapots, coffee pots, glasses, and there's a gravy boat. I like that. It's kind of a ditzy kitchen implements. And then we've got a floral tile panel as well. But the tile, it's not just florals. You've got spatulas and spoons and slotted spoons in between those as well. So it's still keeping up with that kitchen theme. We could have mug rugs and mug hugs. Oh, Hannah. Hannah Producers sent a picture. Oh, Hannah. Oh, that's really good. So I'm having a look around your living room while I'm here as well. Oh, look, there's me on the telly. Can you see that? I love tumbling blocks. I love the effect that they have. So 60-degree diamonds. What are you making, Hannah? Or is it one of those projects where you're just going to start and see where we go? Look, look, look. There's me on the telly. Oh. I started English paper piecing a hexagon quilt with 1-inch hexagons a few years ago. And I thought I'm going to make a double bed quilt, and I'm going to make it all by hand, and it's going to be my heirloom piece, and the one that you pass down through the family and everything. And it's when you start English paper piecing like that, when you first start, everything grows really quickly, because you imagine you've only got one, and then you put 2 next to it, it's double the size. And then you put 3, and then you've got 23, and then it seems to take an age to get any bigger. So my ambitious idea of doing a double bed quilt turned out to be a piece about this big, but then I put a really big board around it, so it's almost a single bed quilt. But that's not actually anything to do with the English paper piecing. Right, so I was just checking. I wasn't checking my text messages. I was checking Facebook to see if you put any more messages on there. What have you sewn for your kitchen? I have made oven gloves and I've made oven mitts. I've made storage jars, not storage, but long, thin, like boxes with Bosal foam in the centre of them, so they stand upright, so I can keep utensils and things like that in there. Maybe you're making decorations, as in ornamental type of things for the kitchen. Come and let me know. This is your fabric strips, so same as before, you've got 16 strips altogether. CXUU96, your item number there. Oh, there we go. That would make a nice curtain. You might have to join a couple together. But again, don't just look at this as 2.5-inch fabric strips. Look at this as one really big piece of fabric. Now, if you're buying a fabric roll or a set of fabric strips, normally they would be 44 inches wide and 2.5 inches, or 44 inches long and 2.5 inches wide. These are each 2.5 inches wide, but they're actually 55 inches long, so they're longer than you would normally expect from pre-cut rolls and strips. 16 again, and they're all different. And the colour's lovely. You know, I was saying about how uplifting it is when you're looking out of the window and you see sunshine for a change. These are those kind of colours again that are just uplifting. Smile on your face time. Right, coming up next. We're never going to get through all these new fabrics. Have a look on the website, because there's fabric bundles. We've got cat bundles and rainbow bundles and all sorts of stuff. So second of the fabric squares, this is DFUU09, and we've got like teal colours, teals and kind of an ochre colour, isn't it? So ditzy spots. You've got the kitchen utensils and place settings. Oh, there's ice creams. This is one of those prints where the more you look at it, the more you see. There's even a chopping board with, I think it's a chopping board, with chopsticks on it. Oh, eggs. Can't get eggs anywhere. What's this thing about eggs? What are you doing with them? And then they go off, don't they? You can't freeze them. I think there's a lot of baking going on. And then you've got your geometric design, and just like the previous one, there's the florals with the utensils around it as well. So that's that. And then I'm trying to be as neat as I can, because when we're finished after these 2 hours, we've got to put everything away. Only being 2 of us, you can't just leave things for somebody else to do. It was so nice when I came in this morning as well, because John was here yesterday, John and Joe yesterday, and normally you come in the morning and you have to find the box of all of the products that are going, and it was all here and it was all laid out. So I thought that was really nice. Thank you. Right, that is another set of 40 fabric squares. These are 5-inch squares, so sometimes called a charm pack. Perfect for patchwork, but so I'd make a little apron out of that, a half apron, and maybe use one of the other fabrics from the larger panel to make a pocket on the front. So I wouldn't cut those up into squares, I'd leave them just as they are. Very cleverly designed so that there aren't any two the same next to each other. So if you did just want to use that as one sheet of fabric, then of course you can do. If you order more than one, by the way, they do come as individual panels. So you're not going to, if you ordered, 5 of these, you will have 5 individual panels. So you can't just, join them, use one big piece of fabric. So KJUU29 is your item number there. And you've got the combination of all of those colours. Again, they're quite subtle, aren't they? They're not really, bright. They're quite, I'm going to say, retro kind of colours. So there's a combination of spots, of utensils. We've got chevrons, we've got stripes as well. We've got little teapots and vases. And small projects, maybe, as I said before, if you're teaching children how to sew. Now, they're probably not going to be at school at the moment. This is such an easy way to do that. So they can cut all of the squares out and sew them back together again. Sew 2 pieces back to back. That could be a pincushion. You could make games with them. So sew 2 pieces back to back and fill them with things like rice, or if you have any of those recycled little pellets, and you've got little bean bags, you could play hopscotch with them. So I'm thinking kitchen when I look at this, and I'd be wanting to make lots of kitchen items from it. But it doesn't have to be like that. You can make anything you like. because it's not, there's not big pictures of teapots. It's all very small patterns and all very subtle. So again, English paper piecing, I think, would be absolutely perfect. And it's only £12.99. That's KJUU29. Still more to come. Just checking to see if anybody's messaged in. Want to know what you're up to? What are you sewing? Are you new to sewing? Is this going to be your new hobby, your new skill? What's going to be the first thing you sew? If you do sew already, can you remember the first thing you ever made? I have, it wasn't the first thing that I made, but I do have a waistcoat that I made for one of my teddy bears, and I must have been about 7 or 8 years old. And it's all cut out really well. It's got little points at the front and everything, and it's got 2 buttons at the front. I can remember sewing those on. I was so proud. And then when I made the buttonholes, I just cut holes in it. It worked. I could put buttons through that. But I've still actually got that. So. Got the 720 coming up in the next hour. I've got a girl crush on the 720. How about that? Does loads of buttonholes all automatically. We have another one of these hexagon sheets for you. So there are 60 hexagons all together. We've got the spots, we've got the stripes, and we have the smaller print here with the teapots and gravy boats and things like that. As we move that over, we've got all of those different designs that you've just seen in the squares. And then something a little extra with these ones here. And these haven't got the hexagon shape outline, so you could actually use those as strips. You could cut them into squares. So you could do maybe a hexagon. Oh no, that wouldn't quite work. It'd be too small. You could do it that way. And just cut the squares out. So I shall leave that to you. I expect to see pictures, of what you're making. Nice to share. So all of that is just £12.99. We have more. So this is a different colourway in the hexes. I was going to make an apron. I was going to make a bolster cushion cover. Maybe if I didn't talk so much and got on with demonstrating, that might help. So you've got the same idea, or the same deal, but in a different colourway. Spots and stripes. And we've got the little teapots, gravy boats and co. Same as before, just the same layout, but in more of the teal and ochre colourways. So 60 of those in total. If you are English paper piecing with this, you are going to need your paper pieces, which I'm afraid we don't have at the moment, but you can buy them online. So that's that. We've got one final panel to show you. So let's fold that up nicely. It washes really well as well. And in fact, if you want to wash before you're making anything, that's up to you. I don't tend to be honest, these days, because a lot of fabrics are pre-washed and they're not going to shrink and the colours aren't going to run anyhow. But when you get this home, it's got a reasonably loose weave, so if you are hand sewing, it's going to be really easy to sew through. So it's great for patchwork and quilting, but it does have a starchy feel. That goes when you wash it. It really does become really soft. I have taken panels home before and put them to the test. Oh, that's another big one. So here, again, we've got 4 fat quarters, but they're a little larger than your average fat quarter. These are measuring 27.5 inches by 19.5 inches. So larger than you would expect. Fresh colour, isn't it, that green? Avocado green, how's that? So you've got the geometrics, you have the place settings, you've got the little floral tiles and the spots together, all for £14.99. So again, you could do the same thing as I did with the apron, with the seashells, as my daughter did with the apron and the seashells. I can't take the credit for something I haven't done. And use these as one big panel. So if I was making an apron, aprons are really easy to make. So measure how far across the top you need it. I like, let's do it this way around. I like that white bit to sit right on the waist. So the white line sits about there. Make it as long as you like. So I'd measure how far across the top you want that to be, and then just take that straight out to the edge of the fabric, and then the straps go on the side, just where that white line is. And then just do a double hem all the way around. Really simple. And you'll have lots of fabric left over from one panel like that. You could easily make 2 aprons from this and have some left over to do the straps in the same fabric as well. What we were going to do with this one was put a pocket on the front of it with some coordinating fabric as well. But really simple to do. And a nice present for somebody as well. Maybe that's what you're going to be doing when you're at home. Have a think about presents that you can make. You know, there's only so much you can actually sew for yourself, isn't there? And I don't see there's anything wrong whatsoever in starting to make your Christmas presents early. Okay, let's take a look at a new bundle we have for you. And these are feline fabrics. Oh, this is nice. So, this is a bundle of all of these 3 fabrics. So you've got the panel here. Look at those. So it's we have cats, and you've got the mice. I love the cat, the mouse serving the cat in a teacup with a teacup. You've got the cat taxi driver with a mouse, and the mouse's little teddy bear. We've got mice and cheese. There's a nice border down the side there as well, in all rainbow colours. It's a really soft fabric. This is lovely. Really nice quality. This is Michael Miller, so a brand that you probably recognise. Really pretty colours. You could almost make a storybook out of these, couldn't you? But notebook covers, what else would you make from those? Again, little pillows. The fabric is so soft, this would make a lovely cuddle pillow for a youngster. And again, you've got those stripy borders down each side there as well. But this is the whole bundle, so that's number 1. And the second one is Cat Corner. So 1/2 metre of each of these, and that's 112 centimetres wide. And again, you've got the non-directional print. That's the word I was trying to think of. So you've got cats all over the place, jumping up and down, playing with balls of yarn. Are there any? Oh, there are mice on. Are there mice on there? Oh no, the cat that just looks like a mouse for some reason. You've got a cat in a box. We've got cats sleeping, cats playing with yarn. Cats doing what cats like to do. My cats like to sleep most of the day, but they're all old now, so they're allowed to. But aren't they fun colours again? Now these are available individually, so if you wanted larger pieces, I'll give you the details of those in just a second. What about pyjamas or nighties? Little throw cushions. You could make curtains out of these for a kiddie's bedroom, would look lovely. Methinks. Clothing. I can see our John wearing a shirt made from fabric like this. Likes his shirts. Okay, then the final one here is balls of yarn. Balls of string, sorry, all strung up, this one's called. But quite clever how, or strung out. Same thing. Quite clever because the balls of string actually come into words. So we've got purr and meow and hello and hi. If we had sound effects, they would be meowing in the studio now. In fact, we do have meowing in the studio. You won't be able to hear that though, because it's in my ear. I've got 2 cats that have very, very quiet purrs, and one that is a booming meow. Yeah, they try and be very vocal. So all 3 panels altogether for £19 and £49, LZX C2 through. where they get these numbers from, ZLX323. So we do have these available individually for you as well. So if you just wanted to go for the panel, these will be by the ½ metre. So each panel measures ½ metre and they will come joined. You're not going to use these joined up because they've got a dashed line in between each one, which is a cut line. But if you wanted to order more than one, then of course you can. It's only £7.99 on its own. And in effect, if you're making little book covers, maybe you are thinking about gifts, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 book covers for £7.99. That's a tad under £1 a panel, not including the stripy ones that's down the side. MOI V13 is your item number there. Next up, you've got Cat's Corner, which is this one. Kitty Corner. And these will again all come joined up. So if you wanted a metre of this, order 2 and it'll come to you all in one piece. If you wanted more, then again just order. If you wanted 2 metres, buy 4 of these at £5.99 each. So £5.99 for ½ metre, and again it's 112 centimetres wide or 44 inches in width. But it's got a lovely drape to it. Michael Miller fabric is one of the highest qualities you're going to buy, as you probably know. So it's perfect for quilting, and it's perfect for attire, for homewares, for making little bags. And £5.99 for ½ metre, great value for money. Oh, I've lost you now. Look, I've gone and touched the screen and all my visitor posts have gone. Oh, Gabriel has sent a message in saying her first block attempt with different shapes and a backpack project too. So she's been EPB, oh no, she's been piecing, and she's going to make a bag from a book as well. June says, you just said about making gifts while we're all having to stay in. I'm a volunteer for the local hospice and all the shops and donation centres are closed, so the income for them is being cut. I'm making handbags, tote bags, toiletry bags, etc. So when we can start going out, I can take them to the hospice for their shop to sell. That's a lovely idea. Thank you, June. If you want to send a message in, want to know what you're up to, want to know what ideas you have, what's keeping you occupied, sewing-wise or otherwise. If you just want to come and have a chat, are you all isolated on your own? Come and be part of the Sewing Street family. Come and send us a message on Facebook. Go to our Facebook page and go to Visitor Posts. That's the page that I've got open here. So I'll be able to read your message out and say hi to you. So it's the Sewing Street Facebook page, not the Sewing Street fans ones that I've got up on my phone. So yeah, it'd be lovely to hear from you. There we go. Oh, and I mentioned that the team who are working from home. So here in the studio, there's only the 2 of us. There's myself and Joe. But we have 2 Haleys, we have a Paul and we have a Neil. And we've got a Tom. And they're all working from home at the moment. So Haley Warren, head of TV, working from home, and Hayley too, who's head of marketing, is monitoring the Facebook page just in case I miss anything to bring it to my attention as well. She's working from home too. And if you do have any questions, she's there right now. So if I miss your message coming through and you've got a question, then Hayley can reply to you right now. Yeah, let's keep her busy. I'm sure she's got lots to do, but you know, let's keep her busy anyway. Best thing about working from home, you don't have to put makeup on. And nobody seems to be getting into the hairdressers nowadays. I was actually listening to the radio on the way in this morning, and they were saying they wondered how people, particularly men, were going to handle not having a hairdresser. Are they going to shave it all off or just grow long locks? That'd be interesting, won't it? And there's going to be a lot of mum fringes around. So they were saying as well that this is what our hair's going to look like, you know, in a few weeks' time. That women would probably be very happy to cut men's hair, but would the women let the men cut their hair? This is the final fabric again, £5.99 for ½ metre. XFYV07 is your item number there. So available on their own, individually, by the ½ metre, or together as a bundle. We do have more for you that I haven't had a chance to go through on the website because I've just been chatting far too much. So take a look on sewingstreet.com. We are back again live after the break, so at 10 o'clock we're going to have a whole hour on my new favourite sewing machine, which is the Elna 720. Now, we brought you this machine last week. It has been very popular, but we do still have stock for you. If you've seen the previous shows and you have a particular question that you want to ask, then come through in the next hour and I shall endeavour to supply you with the answer. I'll see you again in a couple of minutes. Hello again and welcome back to Sewing Street. My name is Debbie Shaw. We've got one more hour with you live here this morning and we're going to be featuring the Elna 720 sewing machine. This is something that's very new to Sewing Street. We did feature it on the previous channel on Sewing Quarter, but we've managed to get the price £100 less than it was sold for before. So you have an incredibly low price for the machine and the features that you have here. Now, I know £1,399, you might think that's not an incredibly low price. For what you're getting, this is seriously great value for money. I know a lot of you have ordered already. If you've got your machine, by the way, come and let me know what you think about it, or if you have ordered previously, what's the feature about this machine that you love most of all? I'm going to talk you around the machine in as much detail as I can, rather quickly if I can, but there is an awful lot to talk about with this. And any questions, by the way, if you do have any questions, if you've seen previous shows and you think, well, I'm not sure, will it cope with heavy fabrics like denim? Yes. Will it sew through things like leather? Yes, absolutely. How many stitches has it got, or what's the warranty? Or just come through either on Facebook, and ask the question. Even if that's after the hour's finished, because the show, you might be watching a repeat at the moment. Well, you won't be now because we're live, but you could be, if I go into the future by a couple of days, you might be, that's really confusing, isn't it? I'm talking to people in the future. But if this is a repeat that you're watching, then you can still come through on the Facebook page and the messages will come through and we will answer any questions that you have as quickly as we can. So come and have a look. Things I love about this machine. It's cast. This is absolutely solid. It's a really heavy machine. I have the predecessor to this. I've got a Janome 660, and the reason I bought it is because it was cast, or one of the reasons because it was cast, because it will cope with high-speed sewing. High-speed sewing with stitches up to 1250 a minute, when you consider that an average domestic sewing machine will be 650 or 750 a minute. This is twice as fast. An average overlocker will stitch at 1100 to 1300 stitches a minute, so this is quicker than a lot of overlockers will sew. That's what I like about it. That's why I bought my machine to start with. But however, you do have a speed control, so if that's a little bit too fast for you, you can slow the whole thing down. It'll also work without the foot pedal because you have a start-stop button. So if your legs don't work very well, like my friend Mary, or if you prefer to sew standing up, I should be so glad when we've got seats. If you prefer to sew standing up and your foot pedal doesn't quite reach the floor, then that's a good option for you as well. Or maybe you just prefer to work that way. But I'll start over at this side, and we'll have a good old look all the way around. So let me just move this around so you get a better view before we start sewing. So over here, you've got your program numbers. If you can count up to 10, you can stitch up to about 200 stitches on this sewing machine. As you choose the number, the machine will automatically set the stitch length, the stitch width and the tension of the machine to default, to what is recommended, although you can override that if you wish. The M button here is a memory button, so you can store selections of stitches or letters and make words and store them inside the machine. You can store up to 20 at a time. The C is a cancel button for when you're programming the stitches into the machine. If you want to, if you make a spelling mistake or you change your mind, you press the C and that will disappear. As you come up, you've got a lot of buttons on here, but they're quite self-explanatory. So we have a mirror image. So the stitches can be flipped. A lot of the stitches, not all of them, can be flipped from one side to another. We've also got an elongation button, so you can extend the length of the stitch by 5 times, but without the stitch stretching. It fills in the gaps. This is your bobbin winding button, so the bobbin is wound independently of the needle, so you don't have to disengage the needle when you're winding the bobbin. You can wind the bobbin at the same time as you're sewing because it uses a different motor. You can change the settings, so you can change the volume, you can change the default stitch length and width to whatever it is that you wanted to, and these are used when you're programming your stitches in there, and then you can file them as well. There's a twin needle icon. If you're sewing with a twin needle, not all of the stitches are appropriate. So by selecting the twin needle, that will take away all of the stitches that are not suitable for twin needle sewing. This is just a display of your stitch length and stitch width on screen. This is your stitch length and stitch width that you can adjust just by turning the dial. Now there are different modes in the settings because there are so many different stitches. There we go. So mode 1 are your most used stitches, your utility stitches. So we've got straight stitches, 1/4 inch seam allowance, you've got your zigzag, you've got a stitch for sewing in elastic, we'll have a look at that later on, a picot edge, a serpentine stitch, a faggoting stitch and a decorative stitch. So mode 2 is all of these stitches. So we're moving on to more utility with over-edge stitches as these, blind hemming stitches. These are all your one-step buttonhole stitches. We've got decorative stitches, but these are heirloom stitches as well with your ladder stitch. These are nice for smocking or stitching in the ditch. Moving on to more decorative stitches, picot edging, blanket stitches, lots of different sizes and thicknesses. I've got a little eyelet. And then we've got darning stitches, buttonhole, stretch buttonhole stitches, lots more decorative stitches. You can see there's just loads of them, little cross stitches, different needle positions. That's a nice heirloom. Oh, I might have a go at that later. I'll show you that one later on. That uses clear thread in the top, quite clever. And then we've got lots more decorative stitching in the ditch again. More decorative, that's a pretty one with the dots on. There are so many stitches on here that I haven't actually seen on other sewing machines before. I'm not sure where I've put them, but I did stitch a lot of these out. Just so that you can see what they look like. I'll see if I can find those in just a second. And then as you come to, because look, you've got these. We've got scissors and mannequins and hearts and shoes. And these ones are all actual stitches, so handmade is 1 stitch. Oh, we've got a professional grade needle plate as well. This is going to help you keep your stitches straight, flat and pucker free. And I've got loads of feet included as well. So I'll take you through all of those in just a second. So that's one side of the sheet of stitches. But we have more, because on the other side of here, we've got the alphabet in 3 fonts, and you've got numbers, and you've got punctuations as well. And these are all programmable so that you can create words, you can create spaces in between the letters and words as well. And you can program in the letters with some of the decorative stitches as well. So you can create some really unique projects with this. So that's your stitches. You have an LCD screen here which is really nice and clear, and on the screen there is the recommended foot to use with the stitch that is chosen. You have your stitch length, whether the feed dogs are up or down, an image of the stitch, and that's all of the information you need about the stitch that you're actually going to use. And these are just some of the most popular stitches, again your utility stitches, so you don't have to look at the board, it's already on here like so. As we move across again, you've got your thread snippers. Even those are programmable. Needle up down position. This is a lock stitch, so that means on a decorative stitch it'll stitch a few stitches on top of each other instead of having to back tack. But if you're using this as a programmable stitch, then if you're doing a decorative stitch, the machine will stop after that one stitch, not just carry on sewing. Reversing button, start, stop. The tension's on the front of the machine, which is quite industrial looking, but this makes the machine easier to clean because any lint tends to build up from thread around the tension disc, which you can actually see here. So the lint will drop out of the tension instead of going into the machine, so that just makes it easier to clean. There's a presser foot pressure dial on the top of the machine. You can just see the bar at the side there as I turn it, that red line's going up and down. So that increases the amount of pressure on the presser foot. So on thicker fabrics you may want to reduce that a little bit. On finer fabrics you can increase that. And that does make a difference to the quality of the stitches as you stitch them out. There's a needle threader on here, and the feet are snap on, snap off, drop on, however you call them. The regular needle plate is on the machine at the moment. Now you don't have an accessory table with this one, so there's a free arm, so you don't take off an accessory arm and use a free arm with this one. I don't have a free arm on my machine at home, and to be honest I don't miss it. Now here we've got a knee lifter. So this goes, and even this is adjustable, this goes into the front of the machine here, and if you just watch the presser foot as I move the knee lifter, it lifts this up and down, so you can keep both hands on your work over here and use your knee to lift this up and down. But this is adjustable as well with the screw that's on the top. So when you put this in, it'll be like this, but if you find that you want the knee lifter to start slightly to one side and then you can lift it up and down, that's when you adjust the screw at the top here. All of this is in the instructions, so don't worry about taking too much notice of me right now. Here's the stitches, look, let me just show you really quickly. So we've got decorative stitches. Let me come over here so you can see them a bit more clearly. We have decorative stitches. We've got the alphabet. We've got stitches that are all joined up together. This is what I meant about the lock stitch. So you can actually stitch one stitch out at a time. So that's one stitch. So all I did was press lock, choose the stitch, might be the other way around, and it'll stitch once. Snip the thread and move across to the next one. So you can decorate the whole sheet with little snowflakes. This is one stitch. So there's stitch, there's love, there's handmade, that all stitch out in one go. And again, I press the lock button at the end of here to stop that sewing anymore. Otherwise, you get this, which is just stitch, stitch, stitch. It'll carry on sewing all in one row. Same with these, so handmade is one stitch, then we've got scissors, you've got the shoe, a needle and thread, and you've got the bobbin, and all of the rest here are just decorative stitches. I love those decorative stitches. There's some really unusual ones there. Here, I've been joining different stitches together, so the mannequin, the scissors, the bobbin, and then mirror image them as well. So for instance, you can see the needle and thread here is the opposite way around to the needle and thread there. And then this is mirror imaging. and that's programmable. Excuse me. So I selected the stitch, mirror image, select, and it stitches out like this. And this again is just joining together different stitches. In the show that I brought you, I think it was last Saturday, have a look on YouTube. And I think it's just called Elna 720 with Debbie Shaw. We did twin needle sewing. I did have a request from Jackie, who's already got the machine, because she'd never used the twin needle function. So with the twin needle function, you can shadow. So it's a useful stitch to have if you're sewing with stretch fabric. But when you press that twin needle icon, this stitch is actually the same as this stitch. I didn't alter the size or the width or the length or anything. The machine did that for me, because if I was using a twin needle and stitched out this wide, the needle would break at the side of the foot because the stitch is too wide for two needles. So this is why that twin needle button is really important, because it regulates the width of the machine, and it also regulates the amount of stitches you can sew. So that's a zigzag, that's another decorative, and this is the straight stitch. And with the straight stitch, the bobbin stitch at the bottom, the bobbin thread at the bottom, does a zigzag in between the two lines of straight stitching, and that gives it stretch. So if you're sewing stretch fabrics, that stitch will stretch along with them. It looks a little bit like a coping stitch. I mentioned earlier on that you can extend the stitches. So this is as the default on the machine. If we extend it or expand the stitch by 1, it goes up to twice the width, but the machine fills the gap in. So it doesn't stretch it all out, so you get a big wide zigzag. And you can do that up to 5 times. And yeah, that's it, that's all I've stitched out. So you've got the different shapes of buttonholes in there as well. So you've got lots of utility stitches. I was just seeing if we got any messages, and I've gone and pressed the button again, haven't I? Well, I've only got to touch the screen and things disappear. So where are we? On to visitor posts. Not photos. Posts. Visitor posts. So, oh, hi, Jackie. Jackie's staying in. She's completed a quilt for her mum's 85th birthday in May. Oh, I hope you get to see her. It's not perfect as I'm learning to free motion quilt, but I love doing it, and I'm sure Mum will love all of the colours. She's got Alzheimer's and dementia, oh dear, but always loves bright colours, so thanks for the shows and the products. Thank you, Jackie, I really appreciate your comment. Lucy says, morning Debbie, and thank you so much to everyone involved in making things happen. Well, we get to watch every morning. We appreciate what you're all doing for us. She sat watching while finishing a Tilda EPP quilt. And, oh, I want to see that one when you've finished it. Leslie said, I've made these this week, and she sent a picture of a bag and a cushion cover, but I'm now working on my scrappy quilt that I've been working on for years and using headers and enders. The bag that she's made there looks like my craft bag that I put on YouTube last week, and the cushion cover looks like the cushion cover that my daughter put on her YouTube channel last week. Oh, nice that you see those. Love YouTube. There's so much free inspiration there. So even when you get your machine home, in fact, when you get the machine, before you get the machine home, there are some reviews of this on YouTube. So maybe you can learn some more information there than I've got time to show you in this 1 hour. Okay, let's do some sewing. We'll just stitch out some of the stitches. And in fact, I'm going to just pick up some red thread and change my thread on here so that you can see what I'm doing, because at the moment I've got grey and it's not going to stand out enough, because I was going to do a bit of sewing. So let's take out the bobbin, which will remove the top thread, and I'll show you how we thread up. We do have an extra high thread guide here, because you can use cones of thread here too. So let's drop this in. Bottom bobbin always goes into your machine with the thread coming off in the shape of a letter E, so it's coming off the bottom and towards the right. You drop this inside the bobbin housing, pull it towards you, and there's 2 grooves that you can't quite see on there, but if you pull the thread taut and round to the left-hand side, you're guaranteed to go through the tensions. You come around the groove here, and there's a little blade in there that will snip off the end of your thread. So top thread, and then we'll put the bobbin lid back on again. Your top thread is going to go on here. Always remove your sticky bits when you're doing that with new thread, because that can affect the tension on your sewing machine. drop that on there, and then we're going to take that thread out of the way. Oh, come here. We're going up and down and round and through here and across there and around here and down and up and through the take-up lever and down, and make sure that the needle is in the highest position. When you get to the little groove here above the needle, you have to pull this over to the left-hand side and it almost clicks in place. Every one of these components is really important when you're threading, because if you miss one of them, that's going to affect the tension. When you come down to threading the needle, at the moment I can pull the thread through freely because the tensions aren't engaged, put the foot down, and that should be quite difficult to pull. So that's a way of knowing that you've threaded it properly. If you put the foot down and you can still pull this freely, you've missed out the tension around here. So simply unthread the whole thing, rethread it, and that should be really stiff. Now the needle threader has got a little V shape on it right just here, and I'm going to go through the centre, pull it till it clicks, so that's holding that in place, and then we'll go around the side and chop this off. The needle thread is here, so as you pull that bar down, it's taken a tiny little hook through the eye of the needle, and it's formed a loop at the back of the needle, so all you need to do is to pull that through, and we are ready to go. Do you want to see that again? It's really easy to do. So let me just unthread the last little bit here without getting my nose too close to the camera. So you've got your hook here, and then you've got another one just at the top of the needle there. So let's go around that hook and pull the thread to one side. And then we're going to go, not over the top of there, we're going through there. And then this part, come off there, is going to go up to the needle threader and pull it till it clicks, and that's held in place. And then we'll cut the end of that thread off. So back up to the side, and you can't see that, and that's cut off. Then the needle threader, when you depress it, threads a tiny hook, let me put the foot down, sorry, through the eye of the needle. It pulls the back of the thread, come on, out. So it doesn't like slow motion, it likes to thread quickly. And it forms a loop at the back of the needle that you just pull through, and then that needle is threaded. It's brilliant, isn't it? The thing, I know a lot of machines have needle threaders, so you might be looking at it thinking, but the thing I like about this needle threader is that everything is held in place while you put your thread there. Because sometimes with the needle threaders, it's like almost like a juggling trick, so you're trying to hold it down at the same time as you're threading your thread through, and this is just so much easier. Okay, so we're all ready to go. I haven't shown you the feet, have I? I love this. I was saying the other day, this is like receiving a box of chocolates with lots of exciting things inside it. I'll switch. I'm not going to switch anything. I'll show you really quickly, because I did go through the feet in quite a lot of detail last Saturday. So if you need more information, then take a look on the YouTube channel, you'll see it there. But let's have a look really quickly what you get. Because you want to know what you get for your £1,399, don't you? So in here, I did get quite excited. It's like, oh, all these feet. Right, we have a blind hem foot. So if you are making garments or you're hemming curtains and you don't want to see the stitches on the outside when you're hemming, give your work a really professional finish, then that's the foot that you're going to use as a blind hem stitch. You have a blind hem stitch for stretch fabric as well. This is a rolled hem foot. I did demonstrate this on the previous show. So you're going to be able to make a hem doubled over of about 1 millimetre. There's no way you can do that without the right foot. This is a button placement foot. So this is going to help you sew buttons on. Of course, you've got your buttonhole foot there as well. This one is an over edge foot. So a few features on this one. There's an over edge stitch which looks a little bit like an overlocker stitch. The bars that go down the centre are going to help to keep the edge of your fabric flat. And then there's a little, looks like an ice skate. That's not a blade, it's a guide. And the guide will help to tuck in stray threads of fabric from fabric that frays, tuck them all in and keep it neat. But this is also a useful foot for top stitching. So if you're using a straight stitch, you can use that little bar as a guide so you get even top stitching across your fabric. You have an open-toed foot, so this is for satin stitches. So the bars at the bottom raise the foot very slightly away from the fabric because the satin stitch is quite dense, and then it's got an open area at the front just so that you can see where you're going. We have a 1/4 inch foot. Again, this is another foot with a guide, so your needle position here is exactly 1/4 inch from the guide at the side, but again you can use that for top stitching as well. Now then, we have a free motion embroidery foot. So this is great for darning and it's great for free motion sewing, but there is also an adaptable free motion foot. So this one will come to you with the closed toe on the end, but there's also an open toe that you can exchange it for, and there's this clever foot which is slightly domed, so if you're using very thick fabrics or fabrics with texture or a pile, that'll help to flatten it as you're sewing. But it also has a 1/4 inch mark there, so you can echo quilt at 1/4 inch increments. There's your walking foot. We have a seam lifter, so for going over thick areas of fabrics like the seams on the side of a pair of jeans, or if you want to sew a button on with a shank. That's the buttonhole foot. I demonstrated these in the previous show as well, and this has a plate that slips in here if you want it to, if you're sewing very thick fabrics, and you put the fabric in between the two layers. You don't have to use that, but it is a good help to help to stabilise the fabrics as you're sewing. Then you have a straight stitch plate and a high performance straight stitch plate, which works with your high performance foot. So these are only for use with straight stitches. They've only got one hole. If you try and use a decorative stitch, in fact, you can't use a decorative stitch because the machine recognises when this plate goes on. Shall I show you that? We didn't see that last week. It's very clever. You've got extra bobbins, you've got your spool holders, and you've got screwdrivers. You've got a 2-year warranty as well, which I forgot to mention, and you've got your full instructions as well. That's what you get. That is half an hour's worth of what you get without even seeing how it works. So, you know, when I said right at the top of the hour, value for money, you've got it here. Oh, and you get an extension table. Honestly, huge extension table, which just slips over the front like so. So if you're free motion embroidering, if you're sewing larger items, if you're curtain making, quilting, oh, and if you're quilting, you've got a really big mouth here as well, throat, mouth, whatever we call it. So that just slides on there. That's too big to use on the table here. And you get a cover. But anyway, so to take the needle plate off, so if you're maintaining or cleaning or you're changing the needle plate, there's a button on the side here and it pops up so you don't have to undo any screws. Let's lift that right up out of the way. So as I change this plate, let's pop that in here, the machine has recognised that that plate has now gone on, and it's telling me to put this foot on as well. So I'm not going to, yes I am going to do that right now. Let's do it, because this is something that we didn't see before. So where's my screwdriver? Do you know, I have an affinity with this sewing machine. I had it at home for about a week, and I was very tempted to say I broke it, have to keep it. Where are you? But I didn't, because I wanted to show it to you. So, but yeah, so so I loved it and I cherished it, and I petted it and I named it, and I made it all my own, and then I brought it back with a tear in my eye, left it in the studio, came in this morning, accessories all over the place. Respect for the 720, please. And we can't blame the staff because there aren't any. So I'm blaming John. Well, he did rummage through my handbag the other day. So, let's put that foot on there. Oh, this is clever. Oh, so, here we go. So I've got the special foot on. The needle actually goes right through a hole in the side there, and then it's not quite hitting the mark there. Let me choose the right stitch. I've not used this one before. This is quite an enlightenment. So the only stitches you can sew are straight stitches with this one. So I can use number 1. In fact, it's only going to allow me to use the straight stitches. Why is that hitting the plate there? It should be over to one side. I can use number 2. Do you know, number 2, number 3. Do you know, I should have had a go at this before I came on, shouldn't I? Because that's really interesting, because I don't know why it's doing that. Well, if anyone's got this machine at home, can you please message in? I did this the other day, didn't I? We were doing the tacking stitch. It does a really long tacking or basting stitch, and I couldn't remember the number. It took me 2 hours. We got there eventually, but it did take me 2 hours. I've obviously done something very wrong there, haven't I? Because it's recognised the plate, it's told me to put the foot on, it's going through the foot and it's hitting the bar. And I don't know why. So we'll edit this later. So what you need to do when you've put the foot on is to lower the presser foot, and then the needle will correct itself and go into the right position. So don't try lining up your stitch with the presser foot in the extra high presser foot stage. So the machine's obviously cleverer than I am. Now, I did say this is extra quick. So because I've got the plate on, I'm now restricted to the amount of stitches that I can use. So if I go into mode, I don't know if you can hear that, it's beeping at me. It's going, and if I try to choose a decorative stitch, it's not going to let me. All of the stitches that it's choosing are the 9 stitches that you can use, which are all straight stitches, which is brilliant. Okay, let's see how quick we can go with this one. Now, because you've only got one hole at the bottom, you know, sometimes when you start sewing right from the edge of the fabric and your fabric disappears inside the feed dogs and you get a whole knot, not going to happen. So here's my presser foot. Oh, presser foot as well, it's huge. Look at the size of that for a presser foot. That would be a huge presser foot. It's actually a foot pedal. Are we getting the professional sewers in soon? Right, let's turn that speed up. Oh, yes. Oh, listen to that. That's what I love about the machine. It's so quick. Oh, wow. And perfect. Absolutely perfect stitching on both sides. I'm going to try the triple straight stitch. So this is the one that's like a back stitch, which you can use to as a stretch stitch. You can use it to reinforce because it's a really strong stitch. But if you're using a regular thread and you're turning up something like a pair of jeans and you want that really thick thread kind of look, this is the stitch that you're going to use. So that's number 4. But because it goes backwards and forwards, on a lot of machines it can be really slow. This is really quick. And again, you get that nice, thick, dense line coming out of the back. I did use once a straight stitch sewing machine, which I was really tempted to buy because I like to do free motion embroidery. And it was so quick, but it only did a straight stitch. And I'm so glad I didn't buy it. Oh, that's to do with that one. There we go. So was that a John? Was that our John? Our John's messaged in, morning, you all right? And he said that he's got a straight stitch machine and he paid about the same as this for it. I did come very close. I was very impressed with the straight stitch machine, I have to say. Right. And I am blaming you for putting the accessories all over the place. John, when will we see each other again? Now we've only got a skeleton staff of 2 people. We're not allowed to be in the same room together, are we? Right, I'm just going to put the regular foot. I'll put the regular throat plate back on again. And I was going to show you elastic, wasn't I? So these are quite basic stitches. You may find you've got these on your sewing machine at home already, but it's just something that I like to use quite a lot. Particularly if I'm making clothes. I'm just going to get my elastic. Oh, no. Oh, I've got that airlift. Oh, how much time? Oh, I've got loads of time. Bear with me while I'm just getting some thread out of my box. There's my elastic and there's my clear thread. When we have our new studio, we might have tables. Probably won't. I keep putting in requests because we're so new. Our little studio here is like the cupboard under the stairs. It's tiny, and we are even sharing this studio with Jewellery Maker. So when we finished here today, that sign will probably come down and a Jewellery Maker sign will go back up again. If you watch both channels, you may have realised that's what happens. But we're saving up for our own studio. Need to sell a few more machines yet. And when we have our own studio, I've got so many requests. I want to sit down and sew. I want 2 sewing areas. I can be a right diva when I want to. And I want a table. That's it really, I don't ask for much. Right, stitches for sewing in elastic. Oh, it's a zigzag stitch, but it's got dots in between it. So it's number 6 on this machine. And the reason being, it's every one of those dots in between the points of the zigzag is a stitch. So it's taking stitches through the elastic as you're sewing, and that's going to stop it pulling through. So pop your elastic onto your fabric. I need to turn that round. I've put the machine on a non-slip mat. It works. Okay. So secure your elastic at the end of whatever it is you're sewing to start with. So just do a couple of stitches. I'm going to line that up so the elastic's right in the centre. And then when you start to sew the elastic, you're going to pull this gently. And I'm easing the fabric from the back at the same time. You can adjust the length and the width of these if that's not quite right for you. We're having fun here, aren't we? I've got my thread caught. The bottom thread's jumped out of the tension. Nothing to worry about. We're just going to rethread it back again. You might find that happens when you get to the end of your reel of thread. Let's pop that back in and start again. Got a bit of a bird's nest going on there now. Okay, so let's carry on. So that goes in the centre. And then as you start to sew, I'm going to switch this off and on again because it's struggled a little bit. The machine's looking after itself. So it's coming up with an error message and it's just saying, I'm not sewing anymore. So what stitch were we? Number 6. Another thing that I like about the machine though, you saw earlier on when I tried to choose a stitch that wasn't appropriate for the foot that I had on there, it beeped at me, it wouldn't let me do that. The same with the twin needle. If you press the twin needle button and try to sew a stitch that isn't appropriate, it won't let you. It'll simply stop doing that. If there is a jam in the fabric or the thread, the machine will stop and give you an error message, and that message may be LO, and it's not saying oh hello, that's a lock function, so the machine will stop working until it's calmed down a little bit and you've sorted out the problem. So as I said, it's kind of looking after itself. So there's your triple zigzag stitch, which gives you quite a professional look on both sides as well. Now that heirloom stitch, again, this is a stitch that I haven't demonstrated or even tried on this machine yet, so we'll have a go and see what happens. Right, so I'm going to double over my fabric, because it's rarely you sew on one piece. And the stitch that I'm going to choose, if I show you over here, is 085. So it looks like dashed line, dashed line, single line. And that's an heirloom stitch. You can use two different colours of threads, but it's really effective when you use a clear thread on the top of your machine. And I'll show you why, because it looks like a hand stitch. So this is a great stitch if you want the look of hand sewing. Maybe you're doing some patchwork, but you don't want to hand sew. So use a coloured thread on the bottom. I don't normally like you touching your tension, but on this case, if you're using shirring elastic, if you're free motion embroidering, or you're using heirloom stitches like this, I'm going to allow you to adjust the tension. So this is a little bit like the King's New Clothes, because I'm threading with an invisible thread through. You probably can't see what I'm doing. But only use this on the top of the machine, don't use it on the bottom. So just go through the regular route. Glad we've got a needle threader on here, because I can't see a thing. And then thread the needle. Up you go. There's the loop. And I'm threaded. And I'm going to increase the tension. The tension is set between 3 and 5 on this machine. It's got a dash line, and that's your average. So a normal tension on a sewing machine means that the stitch from the top and the stitch from the bottom sit right in the centre of your layers of fabric, so that the top stitch is the same as the bottom stitch. If your top tension is too loose, the bottom thread's going to start pulling the top thread through. So you might see some kind of bunching of threads or loose threads underneath your fabric. If the top tension is too tight, it's going to pull up the bottom thread. In this instance, we want to pull up the bottom thread. So I'm going to increase the tension right up to, let's go up to number 8. So you have a play on scrap fabric first of all, and just see what happens. Always good to practice. I say scrap fabric, I mean the same fabric, an extra piece of the same fabric that you're working on. So what number did I say that was? Mode 2, 85. Why isn't it let me doing that? Mode 2, 85. I've got a bit of beeping going on. Picky. I was trying to put in 85 and it's 0.85. This is a machine that answers back. So I've turned this, I'm also going to increase the stitch length because I find it works better with a long stitch. So I've gone all the way up to the maximum on this machine, which is 5. And let's see what happens. So you can see the machine going backwards and forwards. Those 3 dashed lines that you saw next to each other on the stitch selection are actually a back stitch. So it looks like a hand stitch. So if you were to look really closely, you won't see it on camera, I don't think. There is a clear stitch in between each one of those. So I don't know if I can just catch the light on that, it's pretty invisible. On the back you've got a straight line, but on the top you're alternating the top thread and the bottom thread. And as I said, because I've increased the tension right up to number 8, this is the bobbin thread at the bottom that's being pulled through to the top for every alternate stitch. So it's all a little bit like a saddle stitch you see on jackets, on tailoring, where you see what looks like hand stitching around lapels and on pockets and things like that. But if you do want that hand stitch kind of look on your patchwork and quilting, then that's the one to use. I'm going to see if we've got any messages. Post, visit post. No questions. Oh, we've had some messages come through. Who've we got? Oh, Lucy's messaged in. Hi, Lucy. Oh, she says, thank you for keeping us all company every day. No problem. Thank you for keeping me company every day. And Sue has been busy making new cushion covers. And she's making Tulsa dolls. What's a Tulsa doll? You've got to come and explain that one, so I don't know what those are. Oh, we've had a picture as well. Oh, we can't see the name who sent them in, but she's been using up her fabric stash. It's a good time to get your fabric stash out, isn't it? Seeing as we can't get to the shops and buy new stuff. You can, of course, buy online. We've got a lot on our website. Oh, I shouldn't have said that, should I? There's a lot, actually, on the website, so do have a look on sewingstreet.com if you like. Right, let's do a little bit more of the decorative stitches because I really like these. You can program stitches together. This is a big piece of fabric for a little bit of sewing. So if you go into the mode section again, mode 1, remember, is going to be utility stitches. Mode 2 is the biggest one, and that's got all of your decorative stitches on there. And you can program stitches from there as well. So let's do mode 2, and I'm going to do my favourite stitches, which is the scissors 193, and I'm pressing memory, so I'm storing them. So now on your screen you've got a picture of a pair of scissors and a cursor next to it, so I can choose another stitch to put next to that one pair of scissors. So I'm going to go for the mannequin, which is 194, and memory. So now you can start joining these together. You can start putting letters in here as well. So let's go on to mode 3, which is the alphabet, and let's put in Elna. So that's 005 memory, and 012 memory, 014 memory, and 001 memory. Now I'm going to go back again to the decorative stitches, so I can go back to mode 2 now, and I'm going to put the pair of scissors back in there again, which is 193, but this time I'm going to mirror image them. So I'm going to press that mirror image button at the top and it flips them around. Number 194 is the mannequin, and I'm going to mirror image that and flip that around and then press memory. And I can go on and on like this until I reach 20 icons all on the screen at the same time. So I can do it, but let's do a love. So the love stitch is number 198. So I can do 198 and memory. The stitches actually come out as you stitch them a lot bigger than, well, I expected them to. I thought they'd be little tiny stitches, so I'm not going to put too many together here. What you can also do though, can you see that okay? So I've got my stitches here, look, so I've got A, there's the mannequin, and I've got love, recommending the foot that I need to use as well. And I've got the stitch length and the stitch width there as well. I'm just seeing if I can shield the light off that so you can see it better. The stitch length, which is recommended, is here, and I know that my feed dogs are up as well. The final stitch that I'm going to put on there is the lock stitch, which is 202. And that is going to stop the stitches sewing when it comes to the end. Oh, that's brilliant, thank you. So, stitch length, stitch width, I don't need to adjust any of those. I'm only on up to 10, so let's do some more. Let's put some more in. Let's do, in fact, I'm going to take that lock stitch away because I don't want it to finish right now, so I'm going to press C, and that cancels the last one. So I've got love. Let's do a couple of hearts. Memory. That's going to go next to there. Let's do a shoe, 196. And let's mirror image that shoe. Oh no, it's upside down. We don't want it upside down. That will do. We'll do that way. And then let's do, you know, just to be in keeping with everything I've got there, let's do a washing line. Oh, should have pressed memory there, shouldn't I? So what was I doing with that one? The shoe, 196, memory. And then washing line, 189, memory. And I like the washing line, so I'm going to do that a few times. And then I'm going to finish. So let's do a 202, memory. And then we sew. And in fact, I'm going to take the foot pedal out and use the start-stop button. And the machine will just busy itself away. Remember, sewing up to 1,250 stitches per minute, which is an incredibly fast sewing machine. It's quiet. It's quieter than my machine at home, and I thought I got a really quiet machine. It's really sturdy. It's not shaking even when it's stitching out at this incredible speed. It's really solid. You know what we'll do next time? I should bring a glass of water and pop it on the top here, and you won't see a ripple in it. And that will just show you how amazing this is. So it's stitched out the first two. We stitched out Elna. There's another mannequin. Then the word love is all one stitch, so that's stitching all in one go. Then we had a couple of hearts behind there. And a pair of scissors. And this could be... Have I run out? I think I've run out of bobbin thread. I'm going to let it go because I want to show you how it stops. So the machine doesn't actually know that it's run out of thread. I just want to show you how when it's finished it will actually stop. So it's on the last stitch at the moment, which is stitch number 13. I haven't done anything. I haven't pressed the stop button. The machine has automatically stopped now. So let's press the scissors and do that. Now the beauty of having your spare spool, so I'm just getting some more thread from the cellar, is that you can wind your bobbin up at the same time as you're sewing. So this was actually developed in the Second World War, when they used to say that time is money, and when they had the machinists stop sewing to fill up the bobbin, it was wasting time. So they developed a system of being able to feed the bobbin at the same time as they were working. No rest. So it's using a different motor. So that's going to go on the top here, flick over the side button and press wind. Whoops, didn't get that quite in far enough. You're supposed to thread the thread through that little hole in the top, and I'd never be bothered with that. Okay. Oh, the Tulsa dolls are Tilda dolls. Oh, I didn't know that. Never made a Tilda doll. Sorry, I got that knotted. Because I didn't go through the tensions, because I'm so busy thinking about we're running out of time, and I'm sure there's more that you want to see, that I didn't thread it up properly. So tensions are really important, even when you're winding your thread. It has to be wound onto the bobbin with the correct tension. So we're going to go under there, and then we're going to go around what looks like a screw at the top here, and then we're going to come across here and pop the bobbin on there, then flick it over, and then start to wind. So just to show you, I know there's no bobbin thread in here at the moment, but if I wanted to carry on sewing at the same time, then I can do. So multitasking, sewing and winding the bobbin at the same time. When the bobbin's loaded, that's all wound up perfectly evenly, and that will automatically stop. You can stop it by pressing the button if you don't want a full bobbin of thread. And we've got the perfect amount of thread on the bobbin there as well, and this is really important. So it's evenly wound, and your thread should stop just before it gets to the edge of the bobbin. So it's not going to fill right up to the edge, it just stops a tiny little bit inside there, as you can see there. Perfect. Everything about the machine is, it's a beautiful, beautiful machine. And it's one of those machines that will probably be the last machine that you ever need to buy. I can't imagine what else you would want a machine to do. Even with the free motion embroidery, if you have, you've got the alphabet on here, which you can't increase in size. I have had questions about that, because you're restricted by the size of the foot, the presser foot, but you can free motion embroider letters as large as you want to. Right, let's do that. Let's go around there, let's do that. And let's do that. Right. I'd love to know what you think about the machines when you get them home as well. It has been very busy for this machine, I have to say, and it is right now, so congratulations if you're ordering yours. I was going to take a look at some of these different feet for you. So we did over edge the other day. Should we do a blind hem? We could do that, couldn't we? Okay, there's a knack to blind hemming, as in the way that you fold your fabric. I'm going to cut a smaller piece of this to show you. I do have different stitches on here for blind hemming. So you can blind hem onto stretch fabric, because we do a bit of stretch too. We'll have time to do that. So let's, take one piece of this. drop off that foot pedal and put on the new one. And remember, you do have your instructions, they're really clear. There's lots of illustrations in there as well. And there's even hints and tips on blind hemming and putting zips in and things like that. So the key here, I'm going to fold this up and crease it. And I always say, and sorry if I'm repeating myself, if you are in the market for buying a sewing machine, and that doesn't matter what price point you're at, if you're spending £80 or if you're spending £8,000, I'd always recommend that you buy from a big brand. And there's lots of reasons for that, the main one being peace of mind and the support that you're going to get from them. Elna are a company that are based in Stockport near Manchester. It's the same company as Janome, and they have an incredible support group. I've actually been in their offices before now when people have phoned up to the receptionist saying that one lady had a problem, I can't remember what it was, the right needle to use, I think it was, for the machine. And she said, can you hold the line a minute? She went and got an expert. They came back and they answered the question for her. So if you get to the end of your warranty and you're 2 years and a day, you'll have to pay for any kind of replacement parts that you may need. You probably won't find anything at all, but you will still have that support. You'll still have the help from them as well, because they're very nice people. So blind hem, I have turned my hem over to where I want that to be. So that could be a trouser leg, and I'm ironing that at the length that I want it to be, and I've got a nice deep hem. What I'm also going to do is to fold over the top so I have a double hem, and keep that nice and deep as well, so a centimetre or more for that one, I would say. So that's how I want my hem to look, and that's from the inside. I'm going to sew underneath this bit here. So flip it over like that. So at the side you've got almost like an S shape. So that's the inside of the part that I've just folded over. And your blind hem stitch will do a few straight stitches and then a zigzag. So have a practice again first of all, because when this is a zigzag stitch, you only need to catch a very small amount of this fabric. So there we go. You've got a guide down the centre as well, just to help you sew along the fold. Let's choose our blind hem stitch, which is number 18 in mode 1. In mode 2, 018. I'm going to come out of that to, what did I say that was, 018. So again, I've got a picture of the foot on the screen recommending which foot to use, and we'll use the start-stop button because I unplugged the foot pedal, didn't I? So let's slow this down a little bit and just make sure I'm feeding that fold right underneath the bar in the centre. Let's stop this. Oh, Linda's loving the demonstrations. Thank you very much. So that's the inside. Do you want to look up here? Where do you want me? Up here? Down there? Where you can see clear. Let's do this. So that's what we look like where I've just sewn. This is now the inside of my trouser leg, or whatever it is that I'm sewing. And then on the outside, all you get is a little regular row of dots. Now, obviously, you're going to use the same colour thread as your fabric, so those are going to be pretty invisible. Or you could even use your invisible thread, as I used with the heirloom stitch. But remember, you're only going to use that on the top of your thread, so you need the same colour on the bottom as well. Oh, we've only got a couple of minutes left, haven't we? What else was I going to do? Oh, still. Let me just give you a reminder of the machine and its main features. For me, when I bought my machine, which is the predecessor to this one, and I paid more for it, I bought it because of the speed. I wanted a really fast sewing machine. If you're an experienced sewer, you'll know what I mean. If you've gone from a machine that sews very quickly to a standard domestic sewing machine, you just want it to go faster, don't you? So this is a really quick machine, but you can slow it down. So if you want to build up to sewing at speed, then of course you can do. It's solid. This is cast iron. The top bit is a plastic casing. This is all cast, so it's heavy, which means it doesn't wobble and it doesn't shake around. You've got an amazing stitch selection, which you can program, including the alphabet on here as well. We're giving you a 2-year warranty. We have brought this machine to you when we were Sewing Street, when we were Sewing Quarter for £1,799 and then £1,499. So we've taken an extra £100 off that price as well. I'd love you to give it a try. If you're in the market for a new machine, if you're upgrading, I'm absolutely in love with it. Now let's give you a reminder of what's coming up tomorrow. We're going to be live again from 9 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock, and we've got 3 new sewing machines. They're not of the standard of this one. These are more entry-level machines than the one that you see now. And then at 10 o'clock in the morning we're going to be bag making. I've got some prim bag bases and handles for you, so we're going to be doing a little bit of bag designing and bag making as well. You can order after the end of the show. I'll see you at 9 o'clock in the morning. Bye-bye.